This episode of Legendary is brought to you by Audible. Head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker to receive a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook.
Gamebreaker TV.
Welcome to Legendary. I'm Gary again. Coming up tonight, we just had a couple hours ago, we were doing the Blizzard Q&A. We got tons of new stuff to cover from the live session with the Blizzard devs. We got some PvP rewards, Spectator Modes, and potential fixes for the low pop realms. If that wasn't enough, a Blizzard interview as well. Some unexpected PvP changes cropped up in the earlier dev Q&A, all that and more. But first, from tankspot.com, Weekly Marmot, Just the Tip, Broadcast, ton of other shows. The list is getting longer and longer. I'm going to start charging for the advertisements. It's Josh Allen, K-Lore.
It's a fake.
It's Sunny. You got to come to the pre-show. From WoW Insider, as well as right here on GameBreaker.tv, it's Olivia D. Grace. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
What time is it?
It's 5 a.m.
You're such a trooper. She stays up till 5 a.m. to do this show. We're usually done at this time. We're just starting.
Working till 5 a.m.
That's it. And back from his crazy, crazy weekend in Vegas. Happy to welcome back host of Convert to Raid and Convert to Raid 2 in that TV show. It's Pat Crane.
I think I'm still drunk from Vegas. This is a crazy, crazy time, people. I'm telling you. Oof.
I like that. Just be drunk Pat Crane on the show.
That's
like
right.
a Dean.
The entire time, I'm just gonna throw caution to the wind.
Like Dean Martin. Kids are like, who? What?
That's
What are
right.
you talking about? All right. So first up this week, let's see. Ghostcrawler took to the Twitters. Kids are all over the Twitters. Was it yesterday evening? He was talking about the lessons learned in Mists of Pandaria to a player question. So, probably first answer probably should have been I should have drank more. So he said,
more gin.
He says, I'd say two things off the top of my head. We wanted to offer options, but didn't offer enough options. E.g. Golden Lotus. As many difficulty levels as we offered, it wasn't enough. Says also, we didn't do a good job of providing direction at level 90. Also wish we had added some dungeons in maybe 5.3 and another case of gin.
So the first thing we learned is that Ghostcrawler is bad at counting.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
It is.
Right.
It is pretty
Was
bad.
anyone surprised?
Hence the gin. All right, so Dungeons in 5.3. This is something that players have been kind of complaining about like crazy all over the place. I take this as really good news for players for the future. They're aware. They've learned from their mistakes.
You can't go an entire expansion with no new 5-mans. Okay,
Yes,
we'll just mark that one off.
Duly noted. Players will rage incessantly for like weeks on end, months on end. And yeah, I hope so. I mean, I was kind of hoping that they might buckle and put some new ones in right at the end of this expansion, but given the amount of time it takes to create 5-man content, there's no way that's going to happen. So we can look forward to a slightly more 5-man heavy expansion next time around, I think.
Pat, do you think this is linked to like his second point about the difficulty levels?
Boy, I tell you, that's kind of a slippery slope when you're looking at PvE stuff, because they did actually provide a lot of different difficulty levels for PvE stuff. And they really kind of tried anyway to figure out LFR, and I think they're still trying to figure out LFR in a certain way. But I mean, you have LFR, you have normals, you have heroic rating, and then you have your, although they're not very many in number, you still have your dungeons and your heroics, and then you have all of your scenarios. And now they're opening up heroic scenarios, if they are indeed heroic. And who knows about that. So it seems like there's a lot of different levels for PvE players. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. I don't.
That's me. If we're talking PvE, if we're talking PvE here, I mean, didn't Miss offer like more difficulty levels than ever?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's like we offered so many different ways to experience this game and so many like different amounts of time commitment and amounts of skill and everything. Like it just as everything gets put together, there's so many different ways to enjoy World of Warcraft right now. For him to say it's not enough is kind of.
I mean, that really.
I don't know what else to do. Like,
did they need more?
Where else are they going to slot stuff in? Exactly. It's just like
15-man raids. That's what it's going to be. 15-man raids. Now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sure.
I mean, I think that the problem is more, in my eyes at least, the problem is more that they took away things which players sort of loved. Well, exactly like we've just been talking about, the 5-man heroic dungeons, and also sort of the. I mean, in Kata, we had a lot of players complaining about it. The poor guys can't win, but the 5-man heroic dungeons that were actually genuinely deserving of that heroic title, they were actually really hard. And I mean, you know, we all remember spending hours in the 2 Zul heroics when they first came out. And they've sort of taken that away and then asserted that they've replaced it with things like challenge modes and LFR, which are actually just different content. They don't really fit into that gap where this other stuff was removed. And I think, I mean, if anything, I kind of feel like they need less difficulty levels, fewer difficulty levels, and just pull it back. I think what not all of the player base, certainly, but some of the player base want is just for it to go almost put the stuff back that was there before and then add this new stuff on top rather than trying to replace it all the time.
Do you really think they needed even more, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, man, that's a really tough one because it's like, I think it's not so much a question of different difficulty levels. It's just different. I mean, I guess you could call it different difficulty levels, but like different levels of complexity, different levels of the amount of people that you need to work with, the amount of investment that you need to put in personally to your character. There's definitely been a whole lot of like there has been a gap, and that largely comes down to the lack of 5-man content. There's been sort of that missing gap somewhere in between raiding and not doing basically anything at all. Like scenarios didn't really fill that gap very well. So maybe, I guess, but I kind of don't feel like there's a certain point where you've got so many different difficulty levels. Like if we're talking about, are we going to add like LFR, LFR2, half normal, double heroic?
Yeah,
like are we going to get in there and do this stuff?
Maybe what they should do is they should do like easy dailies and heroic dailies.
Yeah.
More and more dailies.
They should just do like a fast food menu. Be like, do you want to supersize that heroic? Do you want like
Yeah.
So he goes on and he clarified what he meant about providing direction in a later tweet, talking about how like people seem to not really know what to do at 90 and that players felt overwhelmed. But I mean, what do you think they really could have? Any ideas of what they could have done to kind of help that along?
I think some breadcrumb quests here and there would have been nice. Like maybe something, because there really isn't anything that drives you towards pet battles once you hit max level. And unless you just happen to wander by the guy in like Orgrimmar or Stormwind, there isn't something that really drives you towards that. So maybe something there like, oh, level 90, hey, here's this like list of stuff that you can do. Maybe give you just a whole bunch of here. You can go and do this. You can go do that. To sort of point people into those a little bit more, get them a little bit, like to at least start trying it out and then see about where to go from there. That might have been good. I do think that there was a little bit of a sort of, does someone have a bird or something?
That's what I was just going to say. I'm like, does somebody have like a pet bird?
It's probably because the sun is actually coming up here.
Oh, wow. Look out.
Oh, that's genius. I'm
So
like,
sorry.
I was literally, so Josh was like talking and I'm literally like looking around. I'm like, what is that noise in my head? I'm like, what is that? Like,
Yeah, sorry. I live in the countryside, so we've played with birds. I'll start muting. Be prepared for a mute fail.
There we go.
But yeah,
That's
I think maybe something just to point players in different directions a little bit better would have been good. Just because there is a lot of stuff to do, and a lot of raiders even felt like they had to be doing every single daily quest as soon as the expansion. And you needed to be doing dailies on a daily basis, but you didn't necessarily need to be doing all of them right away, and it led to a whole lot of people getting really burned out early on. I ended up doing a couple of weekly marmots talking about it, where I'm like, no, seriously, you guys, stop killing yourselves on the daily quest. You don't have to do every faction every day. That's more than enough. You're not going to be able to buy any of the Valor gear anyway if you keep doing it at that pace.
Exactly.
Right. Well, the problem was the double gate, right? I mean, you had the reputation stuff on top of all of the Valor that you needed to get. So it's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you go, they kind of learned their lesson from 5.0, and I think that they've done that pretty effectively, where they've taken out a lot of the gear stuff for reputation anyway, or they've taken away the need to go through all of those reps, thankfully, because I'm sure we all agree that dailies are awesome and meaningful.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, I'm just glad that they took the gear out of there so that you don't have that double gate anymore, because that was, I think, the biggest thing when 5.0 hit that people were really frustrated by. So.
You don't have to mute them. Come on, the bird show. Can you just go outside and just like show us the shining sun instead of the the library?
It's still that sort of just creeping up.
The bird's going to land right on her shoulder. It's going to be fine. Don't worry.
It's going to be like Mary Poppins. No, wait, not Mary Poppins. Yeah.
Snow White.
Seriously though, can you show me what the sun looks like? I'm a World of Warcraft player.
I'm not familiar with this.
Not familiar with this thing called the sun. All right, moving on. So not only that there was a Cover It Live thing, but there was also this, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but there was also an Ask the Devs during the during this past week, all on PvP. So the new guy, Brian Holinka, sat down and answered a bunch of player questions on things like resilience changes and gear and changes and things like that in 5.3. But right at the end, the system design team snuck in a really, really interesting little reveal that I don't think anyone saw was coming. So the question was whether there are any plans for battlegrounds and arenas beyond just the new BG and arena in 5.3. And the answer was that there's nothing new in the pipeline right now, but they added this. We have a lot of data now about which battlegrounds players are voting out of participating in. So that gives us some direction on which battlegrounds we could potentially fix or even cut. What?
Blah, blah, blah.
I didn't do it. Gopher. No. So what? Everybody flipped out. Cut a battleground. I mean, is there any battleground that is so broken that it warrants cutting?
That's just it. Like, no, there really isn't. I mean, it's unusual. There's certainly some that are better than others. But I mean, having played quite a few battlegrounds in my time, I'm genuinely of the opinion that none of them is actually broken. I mean, there are some which could merit some work, certainly, and actually they are making some changes to some of the battlegrounds come, maybe not, 5.3 and later patches. But no, it's weird. There are probably battlegrounds that people don't like, but there's definitely not one that's actually broken.
I'm watching the chat room.
They're all going to say things, and I'll tell you what you'll see every single person say,
Isle
no,
of Conquest
Isle of Conquest, Strand.
It's Isle of Conquest and Strand.
No, I have a Storm. No, wait, I have a Storm. No, wait, Warsaw Gold. It's all it's subjective.
There is a lot of it seems to be those two. Some are saying AV as well, but
yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Here's the thing that if you sit down and say, what battleground would they cut? Which battleground would they cut? It's not going to be Isle of Conquest or Alterac Valley, because we already know that they're talking about putting those into a separate thing entirely. They're just going to put those in a separate queue, so that they're not going to put them in a separate queue and then cut them.
And then delete them.
We put these in a separate queue and then took that queue out of the game.
Just uncheck the box next to that queue.
And the rest of them, when you take IOC, because there's sort of two general camps. There's people who say, I don't like Isle of Conquest and Alterac Valley, and the rest of them is just kind of milling about. There's maybe you also don't like Strand, or you don't like Eye of the Storm or something on top of that. But with IOC
just naming them all. Maybe you don't like maybe you don't like this, maybe you don't like that, maybe you don't like that.
I'm going somewhere with this. With Isle of Conquest and Alterac Valley out of the running, right? They're in their own separate queue. You're never going to get those queuing for a random battleground. I don't think there's anybody who would then look at the list and say, okay, now I'm also going to downvote 17 different other maps. No, they're just looking at this, okay, I don't like Strand of the Ancients. I will just downvote those two. There we go, done, problem solved. Other people still I like Strand. I don't mind Eye of the Storm. I'm not a huge fan of it, but if I had the option, I'd probably downvote it. But I don't hate it either, and I know there are people that like it. So it's like none of the other battlegrounds. If we separate the big, long, complicated battlegrounds from the small package battlegrounds, and then give people the option to downvote, then it's like, okay, we don't need to cut anything. So I'm kind of looking at this and saying, maybe it's something they talk about from time to time, but this isn't striking me as something that they're saying, we've decided we're going to cut a battleground. Which one will it be?
It'll be like Big Brother, where you vote out your least favorite battleground and people will phone in. It'll all be fun. I reckon it would. I don't know. It's crazy. It's just, I can't see any of it.
Well, that's my question. I'm gonna Liv, I mean, if you had to guess, I mean, if this is based off of Blizzard's feedback that they're getting from the new thumbs down feature, you're saying none of them are broke, but where are you putting your money? Where are you placing your bets on the least popular?
We should totally have a sweep. Man, I actually wrote an article about this the other day where I concluded that the most likely to go if they were to remove one would actually be Strand, purely because, like Josh said, Alterac Valley and Isle of Conquest are going into this new Epic Battleground queue, and that kind of leaves, there's no way that people are going to downvote Warsong, Twin Peaks, Arathi, Battle for Gilneas. They're the popular ones. They're the safe ones. So it's kind of Eye of the Storm or Strand of the Ancients.
Yeah. Like maybe
I don't know. I love Eye of the Storm.
or something.
No split.
I just kind of, well, that's it. I kind of like completely ruled out the new ones because I couldn't believe that they would put a new one in and then take it straight back out again. I just can't. Yeah. I would be so surprised.
No split bets. No splitting bets. No split bets
here.
Okay,
I'm going to say Strand of the Ancients. Strand of the Ancients is my mark.
Going Strand. Pat, what are you going? And why?
What are battlegrounds? What are these?
What are these things you call?
That's the other queue, the one that looks
just
like
pick one. You know.
Oh, that right. I would probably say Strand as well. So
I'll say Fang.
What? Is this something that we don't know about yet, Gary?
Did you get Rift and WoW mixed up again?
Shh, come on, you had to throw that out there. You had to blow the joke. Like 3 people got that, and they were like all laughing, going like, "You just made a Rift joke." All right, let's go.
Yeah, they laughed for a second. And
exactly.
I
was just gonna move on.
Oh, that's what it was.
Oh, okay. What's yours, Josh Allen?
Hutball.
Oh,
sorry.
I see what you did there.
I see what you did.
All right.
No, you're wasted.
They need to put Hutball. Seriously, Blizzard, hurry up and steal that. Give me that. I want to play Hutball.
Right.
Olivia, you finally.
I would say probably Strand too.
Probably Strand.
Even though
I gotta say, if I didn't do any real proper tallying here of votes, but I think Isle probably kind of came up more in chat room than Strand. It was kind of close, but I think I saw Isle a bit more, but I don't know.
Well, the thing is, those are going in a separate queue, so they're not going to cut them. So
smart money is not on Isle.
I mean, I guess technically you could say that they are cutting them. They're just cutting them out of the random battleground queue and putting them into something else.
Yeah, in a different queue.
For those of us that don't like those battlegrounds, they're gone anyway, so it's cool.
They're cutting them and then they're cutting and pasting them.
Yeah, exactly.
Liv, you finally got into the new BG, right?
Yes. Oh my god. Yes. After 22 hours of total queuing time, I got into the new BG.
Do you think that there's any possibility it could replace an existing one?
Well, I was kind of thinking about this, and it's very similar mechanically, purely mechanically, don't get overexcited, to Eye of the Storm, in that you've got a mixture of node capture and flag capture, and I'm doing the bunny ears because it's not a flag, it's a minecart that you're capturing. And it's got three mines north to south dotted across the middle of the map. So you've got the 3 node captures and then the flag capture going backwards and forwards, basically. And it's kind of a cool battleground. I quite like it. There's some interesting landscape features. But I was trying to think, well, maybe, that's kind of what tipped the scales away from them pulling Eye of the Storm, but it could go 2 ways. Because either they could pull Eye of the Storm and put this new one in as a sort of Eye of the Storm replacement, or their adoption of the Eye of the Storm style scheme for a new battleground could be taken as evidence that actually they love Eye of the Storm and are totally keeping it in. Because otherwise, why would they make a sort of similar one again?
What do you think, Josh?
Eye of the Silver Shard Mines. That's what I got out of all of that.
Yeah.
I really don't think they're going to cut a battleground. I really just don't think it's going to happen. So that's about where I stand. I don't think
tough.
I don't think there's much of
So-
a possibility of the new one replacing an existing one because I don't think they're going to get rid of any of the old ones.
So you think Blizzard lies then, basically?
I think they'll talk about cutting it because why? Like that's what they should be doing. Is they should be exploring all options. Like, oh, we're having an issue with this Battleground. Should we just cut it? And then someone immediately goes, no, hang on, we can fix this and we'll figure something else out to go along with it. I'm sure they talked about cutting almost all of them at some point in time because they're like, well, this isn't really working. You know,
Yes.
Battle for Gilneas, it just turns into whoever gets the waterworks first wins, right? Remember when that was happening? So I think I think they shouldn't have mentioned that they talk about cutting Battlegrounds. That's what this comes down to. Just don't say that because then people like us are going to sit back and go, what are they doing?
We like to know what's happening behind the scenes, and yet we don't like to know what's happening behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, this is why we can't
Don't
have
talk
nice
about it.
things.
It's cool, man. I just wanted to get Blizzard lies in there so we could title the show that. That's really all I was doing.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll make a note, shall I?
Yeah, no, it is. Just make sure you put a question mark and an exclamation point.
And an
so that-
exclamation mark so we know
yeah,
that it's
you got to put the
obviously
question
a
mark so
joke.
nobody freaks out because it's not really a statement, so it's a question mark. So there you go. That's how I come up with titles for shows. All right, I want to tell you guys about Audible. Guess what? I don't know why I haven't brought this up. Do you guys realize? What's on Audible?
I was going to ask you this. I was like, are there World of Warcraft books on Audible? OMG,
Mind
Gary.
blown. Yes, there are. And Gary didn't search for them till now and realizes that there are. And there are a few.
Wow.
I have that one on my phone actually.
So check
it's
it
all
out.
good.
There are 3 World of Warcraft books on Audible. You've got the Jaina Proudmoore Tides of War. You've got Wolfheart and Storm Rage, which, if I'm right, am I right in saying this? I feel like Storm Rage is the one that most people should check out first if they don't know a ton of World of Warcraft lore. I believe that's the one.
I haven't read any of them myself personally. Maybe I will now. Maybe now that
well, that's
I know
it.
they're on
Oh,
Audible,
I am
maybe I'll check it
absolutely
out,
like
but-
I am down. Like I'm downloading those suckers tonight. I didn't realize it, so I got down. I'm like totally like freaking out because I didn't realize they're on there. I feel like Storm Rage. I'll watch chat room, but yes, I think
maybe, yeah. I think Missy's in chat room, so she'll be able to tell us. But like the fact that they're on Audible just means that it just seems so much less daunting to read a whole ton of Warcraft lore books. She says,
yes,
surrounded by
I am
actual
correct
books.
on that. See, I am on a World of Warcraft lore show, hence I know the lore, which is why I then
Yeah.
tell the audience, yes, I'm completely 1000% correct when I say that Storm Rage is the one to read first if you are not, into the lore. But I have not read it, but I have
Yes.
just received it telepathically.
And all of those are really, really like. There's lots of. I haven't read them personally, but I've read like some of the like synopsis of what happens in them. They're all very important to the overall story. That like when people talk about, oh, there's too much story that happens in the books nowadays. It needs to happen in the actual game. These are the books they're talking about. So
Yeah, exactly.
definitely go and check those out.
Yeah.
Well, check it out. Go today. So all you got to do, go over to audible.com/gamebreaker. That's the URL. Use that URL. Go sign up today. You get a free 30-day trial. You get to download the app, put it on whatever device, your iPad, your iPhone, your Xbox, your whatever. It's on like everything. And you could be downloading one of these World of Warcraft books tonight and listening to it while that little bird cheeps in your ear all night while you're falling asleep. You just cheep. You could be listening to Storm Rage. So go check it out. It's audible.com/gamebreaker, free 30-day trial, and a free audio book. All right. So just earlier today, right before this show, actually, Blizzard did a live Q&A, question and answers, through Cover It Live, some technology thing from like 1982. I already made that joke in the last show, but I'll make it again here. So we did live coverage. If you guys didn't get to check it out, we'll be posting that as well. So you can go back and watch that. Josh, myself, and Olivia all sat and went through the entire thing live, commenting on it. So that'll be available on GameBreaker.tv. You can watch that. It went really fast. Like it just, the questions that people were firing off to all the devs was moving by really quickly. So we couldn't get really into it on that show, but we can jump into a little bit on this show, a little bit more in depth. So first up, an interesting quote from Ghostcrawler regarding server populations. So he says, we do have plans, and we are actively, as in I was in a meeting on it yesterday, working on a plan. We don't want to share that plan until we are reasonably confident that it is going to work. We want to be clear that we don't think the experience for players on very low pop realms, which includes very imbalanced factions on otherwise active realms, is a good one. We want to solve it. So first off, what do you guys think? I mean, what sort of plan could he possibly be talking about? I mean, if they were just thinking server mergers, I don't think we would get this kind of a response out of Ghostcrawler. It sounds like there's something up their sleeve where they're doing something.
We've got this crazy plan. You guys are never going to believe it.
It's called... It's called
Hold my beer and watch this.
It's called meeting new friends instead of server mergers. Maybe it's something else. That's like when the companies name their HR department people. No, but seriously, what do you guys think? I mean, this can't just be server mergers. They have to be doing something kind of cooler than that. What could they do?
Cross-realm everything.
That's what I'm saying. Cross-realm everything. Just do it all.
Cross-realm everything. Cross-realm auction house. Cross-realm. No. I don't think that that's going to happen. But I do think that they need to do something with that. I mean, I know that there's a big strain on low-pop realms as far as, you know, the auction house and being able to find groups to do everything that they want to do and down bosses. Even Undasta was, you know, a problem for people on low-pop servers at the beginning. Now, maybe not so much. But you know, it's I don't know, cross-realm everything. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, I think it is something along those lines to a degree. They've hinted in the past of not necessarily making like fully cross-realm auction house, but maybe linking like a few realms together. So they say, okay, well, these handful of servers, not a whole ton of people there. So we'll just link their auction houses together so that you can do crazy things like buy herbs on the auction house.
But what would happen? What would happen if those realms suddenly kind of got super populated and took off? Or could that even what if they just unlink
I would
them?
imagine.
Kinda...
I don't see a problem with them. Like if it's an auction house, they can unlink it. It's not a problem at all. They do it. They do it during maintenance. So. They do it during maintenance, so it's not like anybody's auction is just going to suddenly up and disappear or anything like that.
Goddamn market manipulators.
They just uncheck the box.
Because here's their issue. Here's the conundrum that they have to try and figure out how to solve. Is that yes, there's lots of people who are stuck on low pop realms and very, very upset by that. There are also lots of people who are on low pop realms because they want to be on a low pop realm. Granted, there's not going to be a ton of them, otherwise the low pop realms would no longer be low pop realms. But there is a subset of the World of Warcraft community that enjoys that, and you want to try and not piss those guys off in the process as well. So I think something like linking the auction houses so they can say, okay, listen, it's going to be still pretty quiet on this server. It's still going to be a place that you're not going to go to Orgrimmar and there's tons of people wandering all over the place and there's 15 people in their brand new mount sitting right on top of the mailbox and you can't use it because they think they're cool. But you're still able to do crazy things like buy stuff on the auction house. You're still able to do this, like cross-realm. I don't even know what else would need to go.
We keep focusing on the auction house though. Like, is that enough?
Yeah,
like just the auction house link is. I think this sounds even bigger.
Issues. Yeah, and there's definitely other things that need to be worked on. I mean, stuff like raiding guilds. I mean, it can be incredibly hard. Like, if there's one raiding guild on your server and you're fed up to the teeth with that raiding guild and their raiding ways, then where do you go? Server transfer or no more raiding? I mean, that's something that they need to address, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. Well, and I've been saying for a while that they need to come up with some better way to allow people to transfer servers for rating purposes, even if it's just like, oh, you get a free transfer every couple of months or something like that. That right now, because even on I'm on a medium pop server. 100% of our recruits come from other servers. Like that's not a low population realm problem. That happens everywhere. Every single high end like if you're in heroic rating, the vast majority of your recruits are probably, unless you're on like Illidan or something, they're probably going to come from some other server. Like on most servers, that's how it works. When you get a new recruit, you pull them from someplace else, and that's just a constant thing.
But that's because they want to play with Josh Allen. You're like an internet celebrity over here. They just they're like, oh my god, he's like this guy's a months behind. I want to play with this guy.
But there's seriously like one other 25-man raiding guild on my server. There are like two now at this point, I think. But still, like there's not a lot, and one of them is Alliance. So it's like, okay, we're not exactly a prime destination. Like we're medium pop, but we're not a prime destination for rating still anyway. And that's something that kind of operates independent. I don't know. I feel like that's an issue that goes beyond just low pop realms.
Yeah, and when we just started up our own guild, just to let you know, but we did that a few months ago, and we found that there was a large population that really wanted a big community and wanted to come and join in on wherever. And we had transfers from everywhere. And so it was pretty cool to actually watch that whole thing take place. But yeah, I don't know. Low pop realms are kind of tricky. And I know that there are people that really love them, and then there are people that really kind of dread them. And finding a way for everybody to play nice with the system is going to be a real challenge for Blizzard.
Mm-hmm. Well, and right now you don't, like when you first make your character, you'll see it says, "Oh, it's a recommended realm. I'm going to sign up here. This sounds fantastic."
Right.
Or even if you don't go to a recommended server, you say you go someplace because it's a low pop realm because that's where my friends are or something. You don't necessarily realize when you first start playing and first start leveling that this is going to be an issue at max level.
Yeah.
Unless you are already an MMO veteran, which a lot of the people that get into World of Warcraft aren't. You're going to jump in there. You're going to be like, okay, cool, this sounds great. I'm going to play with my friends. It's going to be awesome. And then you get to max level and you're like, I don't have enough friends to do anything.
Insufficient friends. Exactly. I mean, maybe maybe this thing that Ghost Crawler's talking about is actually the fix that Josh has been talking about. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. And it's just like, they're actually doing something that is working out a way for people to, maybe they're just bringing in cross-realm raiding for current content. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's going to be cross-realm arenas, cross-realm auction house. But I don't know. I mean, I know that battle groups kind of went the way of the dodo in the US, but they're still very much a thing here. And pulling them together in bigger groups, combining servers together, like saying, oh, look, a horde balance. Oh, look, an alliance balance. Mush. And just doing it like that, just taking it from there and carrying on.
Yeah, I wonder if he's talking about something more along the lines of something really forward thinking of technology, kind of like something, I don't know, maybe something called the Game Breaker Nation. And I think it's going to probably solve all problems across the MMORPG universe, pretty much.
It's going to cure cancer.
Definitely could.
It definitely could. I think that may be what he's hinting at. The fix to low pop servers is going to be the Game Breaker Nation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like seriously though, if could they do this? Definitely to me sounds like it's something on a higher level that we're not really expecting. I don't think it's something as simple as server mergers. I don't think it's something as simple as free transfers every few months or something. This sounds like it's more of a technology based system where there's going to be some sort of more linkage, more cross realm stuff with systems and auction houses, and just kind of one more step closer to getting rid of servers.
Yeah.
I don't know, because could anything really, could anything really besides just making a mega server replace server merges though? I mean, they might, because I mean, even if they do all that cross realm stuff, it might still be possible that they just need to do that at some point.
Possible, yeah. I mean, I will hold off final judgment until I know exactly what it is they're doing, because I don't know what this is. I don't really have a good guess. But it does seem like something that eventually at some point, like sometime during the life of World of Warcraft, when it trickles down to a measly 5 million subscribers or something like that.
Nice.
You're gonna have to, like, there's just gonna be dead servers at some point, and they're gonna have to say, okay, the game's been going on for 40 years at this point. We need to slim this down a little bit.
Yeah, and I think because they've always said, haven't they, that the reason they've always said, and obviously pinch of salt, but the reason that they don't do server mergers is because they're also struggling with overfull servers and opening up new servers. So they can't close servers because then they're just in this stupid endless cycle of opening server, close a server, open a server, close a server. But then people don't want to go, people who are actually not the non-MMO veteran new players that Josh was talking about a moment ago, they know well enough that they don't want to go onto a low pop server because they know they're going to struggle for raid teams. They know their auction house is going to be shocking. And unless they have the specific requirement for a low pop server, they're not going to go on there. So they've got this weird cyclic thing. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they work that.
All right, next up, Corey Stockton also talked a little bit about phasing, the phasing technology. So he said, there are a lot of things about phasing that we like. Also, a number of things we would like to solve. We are hoping to introduce some tech to help groups of friends be able to play together, even if they are in different phases. Stay tuned. And that's really been, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's really been the only complaint as far as phasing goes, right? So if they can sort of solve this issue, phasing is awesome.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I really like it. So if we could play with everybody, be able to see everybody, be able to do things together, no matter what kind of phase we're in, awesome. I'm all for it.
Do you think, Pat, do you think that they, because we haven't seen as much phasing since like Lich King?
Yeah, that was a real problem. Here's the way that it went in the Ice Crown days. I didn't do dailies either, so I was always like left out of the group, and everybody else was totally phased in and stuff like that. And we just meet at ICC, and I'd be like, "Oh, now I can see you. Great, perfect." Yes, if they do it like they did in Ice Crown, that would be horrible. So let's just do it so that we can see all of our friends and make sure that we can all play together. That would be awesome.
And it seems like since then they've really pulled back on it. So I'm wondering if they sort of just like pulled back, said, "Hey, this technology is awesome, but it needs to really go one step further to really give players that experience that we want to do." Because it does add such an immersive experience to the game of when you feel like you're actually affecting the game and things change around you and you come back out of the phase and you're like, "Holy crap, this whole area is different," things like that. So I wonder if they're just going to come back with like a vengeance. I mean,
well, they've kind of done this with scenarios. You know, I mean, they really have. The Isle of Thunder is all about the scenarios, doing those solo things, and then ending up in a different place, and you're kind of in a different position in the world. So that's kind of cool how they've done that and said, okay, now we have all these different changes for you. So scenarios has definitely been one way that you can experience content, phased content. It's instanced really, but who cares? You know, that's just definition, right? So I mean, they've done it. And it seems to work, so maybe we'll see more of that too.
I think the really nice thing that phasing does, though, is it always comes as sort of a surprise when something huge happens and now you're someplace else. And they have done some other phasing, like the statue in Jade Forest is something that gets phased, or
the entire Vale of Eternal Blossoms if you don't do the opening the door quest.
That as well,
for example.
Something that's there is a little bit, but they've definitely chilled out on it a lot. And I just remember back to like some of the big wins for phasing that they've had in the past, like during the Worgen start area where you're going through, you've got your Worgen character, you're going through, you go downstairs to turn in a quest and everything shakes, you go back upstairs and half of the area you were just questing in isn't there anymore. You're just like, ugh,
well, that's what I was going to bring
awesome.
up. And that was the one and that's the one that everyone I think remembers, right? And that's when you first realized when you saw it happen, you were like, wow, they can tell a story and an emotional like reaction out of people that they never could do before without it. So if they could harness it properly, it's super powerful. Like everyone remembers that moment you came back out from the basement and you were just like, oh, everything's different. What?
And like as time goes on, more and more parts of like places you were just questing in are now underwater, and you're just like,
tumbling.
This is awesome. But they could never do that outside of a starting area right now, because if they did, then you're just gonna like, if you group with your friends, you're gonna see him just standing on nothing because whatever it was he was standing on before isn't there anymore.
Well, look at Theramore. Like, I mean, I know you don't play so much Alliance, Josh, but like Theramore, if you've got a toon that hasn't done that scenario, you go back there, it's all still there. There's still a flight point. There's still training dummies. There's still the boats. It's all peachy. You zone in with another toon and they're just falling into a hole. And it's just like, how would that work? It's bizarre, but it's very cool as well.
I think the thing that'll be interesting is how I don't know if this sounds the same. I don't know if you guys have been following, but Elder Scrolls does sounds somewhat similar when you're questing with friends. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because I know one of the big questions that everybody has about that game is how when you're questing with somebody and then you take like you're at these different time zones within the phase, what happens to you? And you immediately basically get separated to some extent because you're in different phases of the thing. So it's going to be interesting how that kind of plays out. All right, let's take a look at some PvP topics. Pat, if you want to, go use the restroom, get a drink, another cocktail,
I'll be right back, guys. Time for another drink.
So let's start with this one. This one's from Brian Holinka. He was asked if they were planning on implementing a division system like they have in Call of Duty.
He actually just left, I think.
He actually really did go to get a drink.
Or like League of Legends or something like that.
I had it right on the desk over here. It's fine. We're good.
He said, we certainly think there are some benefits to those division systems, like providing intermediate milestones for all players. Ultimately, you still get to a situation where you feel like it's hard to improve. So is that a yes or a no? What do you guys think? I mean, are they considering divisions or not?
Well, that's kind of funny because the question was like, would you ever do a division system? And he was just like, I like division systems.
I like them.
Yeah. They're fun.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to read into this to decide whether or not they're actually considering it or not. It's something that, like, personally, I would love to see in the game. I think something like the StarCraft system would be fantastic in World of Warcraft. You could be like, oh yeah, I'm a platinum paladin, I'm a Diamond League warlock, I'm a Grandmaster rogue because there's 4 of me. But, I think stuff like that could be cool.
It could be definitely cool. I definitely think it's a cool idea, but I kind of read from his response that no, they're not going to do that. They're like, yes, they're lovely, but no. It seems to be like basically what they're saying. He ends on a negative, which is never a yes. It's like, oh yes, really good. We're not doing that.
Or he's like, we love this idea. And that would be going into Titan.
Yeah.
So just wait for that.
Yes. Hold your horses.
Yeah, any suggestions now are all just going to go into Titan. So
yeah,
we're all
exactly.
Good, right?
What do you guys think he means by getting into a situation where you feel like it's hard to improve? I mean, is that I don't know if that's something you can ever fully avoid. Right?
No, I agree. I think it's definitely a difficulty with PvP, and I know that's why they took out the 2200 rating items, for example. They've made them, obviously now they're purely cosmetic items, but like the T2 weapons, for example, that's now gone, as I'm sure you all know. And I wonder whether his sort of line of thought is that this sort of system would actually bring that back in almost, where you've got these sort of hurdles, maybe the wrong word, but these sort of barriers to get past, where you sort of have to go from being a bronze shaman to a silver shaman, and then that all of a sudden gets a lot harder, or there's a perception that it gets a lot harder. And there's maybe a feeling there that having one smooth ladder is a better way to go for that reason. I don't know, it's a kind of a tricky thing to decipher as well, I guess. I do think there's always a feeling that it's very hard to get better in PvP.
But at the same time, though, it's something that, like, getting to it's a huge motivating factor in games like StarCraft, where it's like,
oh, for sure.
Man, if I keep playing, I can get promoted. If I keep getting better, I can get promoted, and then I'll graduate from being bronze into silver, and so on and so forth. And I think right now what they're really struggling with is ways to motivate people to keep playing PvP. That's kind of their issue, is they're like, keep trying to find these ways to do it, and nothing's really working right now. Something like this gets people more interested. Like, not obviously the hardcore players are always going to be happy with, like, well, I've got the higher rating, because that's they just want something that says, they just want to be able to point at something and say, this is why I'm better. But the more casual players, no one cares if you graduated from a 1100 rating to a 1300 rating. You're not going to brag about that to your friends. You're not going to be like, yes, we're finally up there to 1300.
OMG!
I totally would. What are you talking about? I'd be like, hey, I did some arena. Yeah. There we go. I got
that achievement. The one step into the arena.
That's right. That's right. I finally got it.
Yay! Yeah.
Holinka talked a little bit about changing the way Battleground honor works as well. He said, we talked about revising how we reward honor in a way that promotes players focusing on objectives. He says, we have to be careful of how we do this, since more passive things like guarding an objective in Arathi Basin are important and help your team win. God, I feel like Holinka is like in like a game, like he's in like I feel like he's like in Gears of War or something, like he's just in some like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. Like he's just got like that like totally squared off chin and face, and he's just like, oh my god, I gotta rip your face up. I look like a nice guy, but I'll kill you.
If he put on a bandana and like some really bulky armor, he would actually just be Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah, right? Totally.
Wasn't he started off designing battlefield models while he was like some captain, high-end military person.
Oh,
so
of course he was.
Do that.
Of course
seriously.
he was. If you have a face like that, straight to the military. They just ship you off. Like you don't even have to sign paperwork. They're just like, here's a gun.
Yeah, here's your gun. Be on your way, sir.
You were made to kill people. Sorry. He looks like a fine fellow.
He does.
Back to what was I talking about?
Something to do with Arathi Basin.
It's still on the screen.
I just can't stop looking. I can't stop looking and thinking about Marcus Phoenix. I'm just like, Marcus Phoenix. Look at him. There he is. All right. So revising how they reward honor. We've seen other games. We've seen other games do this. Like SWTOR has the medal system. I don't know. Would that be something you guys would want? Something like that, like a medal system? You think Blizzard should do something like that?
I always thought the medal system in SWTOR had a lot of potential and was just implemented fairly poorly. Like it was something that it seemed like a thing that could potentially work. But then it was like, all right, here's this medal. Do a whole bunch of damage. Now you've got a medal for fighting in the middle. Congratulations, you've accomplished nothing.
Yeah. Congrats.
So I think if they put medals towards things like you get a bonus for returning the flag or killing a flag carrier or helping kill a flag carrier or something like that, or for defending the flag carrier from being attacked or something like that. I think something like that could actually work. They just have to be really, really careful and really particular about exactly what the rewards are for doing these different things to try and avoid it being something where it's like, okay, the best way to get honor is to stand on this node and never move.
Exactly. I mean, I was just thinking while Josh was saying that maybe it would be better if rather than giving medals, they would give the actual, the currency that people are in there seeking out. Mm-hmm. And thinking of the concept of a medal as a separate thing from that conquest or honor point. And maybe actually that would work. And I'm really sorry it's raining here. You can probably hear that. Sounds like static. It's not static, it's rain.
The birds are just soothing.
Yeah, the birds and the rain. It's like Dawn Song with Legendary.
They're just hanging out in the rain. They're just
hanging out in the rain, singing in the rain. But there's a sort of definite argument for giving something that is an honor for this, because what do you need to be doing, particularly in no capture battlegrounds, that people never do? What's the thing you need to do that people never do is defend bases. And what's really easy to do if you're a bot and want to get some extra honor? Defend bases. So they need to, the idea of doing it with something that is specifically not a item that you're actually looking for, so the honor or the conquest, is a really good idea for that reason. But on the other hand, would people actually do it if all they're going to get is a sodding medal? Is that going to be enough of a draw for people?
This whole thing opens up such a can of worms. It's
it's a really difficult situation. I guess if they could award it for offensive objectives rather than defensive objectives, then that would be good. But then people need to defend. And
the thing is, if they start dishing out medals though for all different things because they want people to kind of do different tasks within there, it's like Josh said, you got the SWTOR problem where everybody just sort of fights in the middle. But then it's just going to replace that with a bunch of people standing around at nodes defending them or doing different things, and then you get the whole currency. It's just oh my god, it seems like just a whole Pandora's box of issues that could come out of this thing if they tried to implement it.
And it could almost be incredibly minor rewards, but some sort of splash that pops up on your screen when it happens. Because that's one thing that I really liked about the SWTOR medal system is that whenever you got a medal, there was this little graphic that popped up over your head that was like, cool, I did something. Or even in if you look at a game like Call of Duty. When you kill somebody, there's a little +10 pops up in the middle of your screen for half a second. And you're like, yeah, I got a thing. I mean, even if all the medals you get at the end add up to 40 honor, it's still something that I think would help more people understand this is what you're supposed to be doing in the battleground. This is instead of just standing around and fighting other people that don't matter in the middle of the Battle for Gneos or whatever the entire time. Yeah. Something where it's okay, I stood at this for a little while and we got attacked and I got a medal for helping defend the node, or I knocked somebody off of the node when he was trying to capture it or something like that. Little stuff like that I think would actually help a lot. It doesn't need to be a huge reward, just something to indicate to the player in a puzzle like achievements. I think you don't get anything for achievements, but people still like to do them because there's the little splash that pops up.
Yeah, there is already certain stuff that gives you that sort of so-and-so has captured the flag, so-and-so has returned the flag. And that does already happen in Battlegrounds. But it's only, I think part of the problem is as well that just as Josh was just talking about that, knocking someone off of a base they were trying to capture, or, something else, AoEing a base that someone's trying to capture with your death and decay to stop them capturing X that's doing damage to it. It's so hard to measure. And the reason why there's only, the only way you can get those little pop-ups with your name in them in Battlegrounds at the moment is because they're done from easily measurable things, like so-and-so captured the flag, obviously easily measurable. Return the flag again, defended a base, which they don't actually mean I was in the area while a base was defended. They mean I recaptured a base before it ticked over to the other side.
It's a switch.
And again,
it's
measurable
switch.
Stuff. Exactly. It's binary stuff, and it's where it becomes so subjective as well. It then is going to become much, much trickier to implement. And I'd be really curious to see how they would possibly start thinking about how to do it. Although don't get me wrong, I think if it is possible, I think it would be a really, really cool addition.
Finally, this week in PvP news, Brian decided to crush the hopes of and dreams of everyone out there in PvP land by saying this. He said, "We don't have any plans for spectator mode in arena/RBGs."
Make Olivia sad.
Now, if you watched our Blizzard Q&A, according to Olivia, there's just a tick box that enables spectator mode in any part of the game they want. But seriously, so why do pet battles in Brawlers Guild get spectator mode, but arenas and BGs do not?
That's an excellent question, Gary. I'm so glad you asked. I honestly don't know the answer. Seriously, just check the box. Stop it. Just stop it. Just check the box. There's already, the thing is, the player base have already shown them how to do this. I mean, Brian Hillenkow mentioned the Arena Live add-on in a recent conversation, and they know it's they know it's possible. I mean, I know that they had this. We've discussed this before about Arena becoming an esport and the concerns of players having too much back-end access to the game, and there's certain people who they trust, who they can trust to put on tournaments. But this is already happening. It's already taking place. That players are organizing their own tournaments. There's crowdfunding tournaments going on already.
We've also heard a lot of the I don't want to say excuses, but the things that we've heard back from them. And I think you even got this, excuses. Josh, from them, was that they were sort of like throwing it back in your court and saying, like, prove to us that this is a thing. Like, prove to us that this is popular enough that we should do this. And they're sort of like throwing it back at the players. So my question, seriously, is, are pet battles in Brawlers Guild is it that much more popular than arenas and BGs? I
mean, the Brawlers Guild thing was that one was easy because like it was something that was already possible. All they did, like literally all they did for Brawlers Guild was they added a totem you could click on that does what I've been doing anyway, which is cast Farsight. Like that's literally it. That's all the totem does. That's all they had to do. It was that was a programmer's afternoon was making that happen.
That genuinely was a checkbox.
Yeah, right. Seriously. The pet battle thing is a lot more involved than I think even arenas and BGs need to be. Because we have the war game system already. All you would have to do, literally the extent of what you would have to do, and I know that this is going to be more complicated than it sounds when I say it, but you would just say, okay, you're queuing up for a war game. Make sure, like, when you queue up for a war game against somebody else, a little thing pops up that says, would you like to fight or would you like to spectate? Someone can click spectate from either team. You can have one spectator from either team or something like that. And then when you do this war game, which is not part of the standard arena thing anyway, so it's not like. And there's cross realms now, so you can do those. You can do war games. It's so easy. Just do it.
Just for God's sake, just get on with it.
Josh is like, I'm writing the code in my spare time.
An invisible eye of Kilrog to fly around.
We will fly it around. Fine. Just give us a Farsight. Honestly, what?
You know what they're probably afraid of, though? So I'm like, I know you're kind of going in one route with it, and you're kind of not saying giving like the simplistic view of what spectator mode is, but I think that if they were to implement something like that, like it may be slightly too simplistic, and Blizzard might catch backlash, and they might be more afraid of that. That if they don't fully flesh this thing out for RBGs and arena, because players would want to get really super competitive with this and have tournaments and money on the line, and if they don't flesh it out to the point that it's like StarCraft quality or something, that the player community would actually revolt and turn the other way and say, like, this is crap. Like, we don't want this. I just lost $1,000 at this tournament because of this garbage. You know what I mean? They wouldn't lose because of that, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, do you think it's because of area? I mean, because pet battles, I mean, they're so contained, right? I mean, so you don't have to worry too much about the space, but in BGs, I mean, they can be pretty huge. So maybe it's a space thing with those guys. I have no idea.
I don't know. I can see the concern. I think it might be something where they're looking at it and saying, well, people aren't really into watching this stuff right now, so it's not a good investment for us to spend the time on that.
Yeah.
And when I say investment, I obviously mean like development time, not like actual cost. Because
and to follow up on what you're saying, still, think about this, because this follows into what you're saying. Is like they have a new game coming out soon.
Right.
Like, do they really want to get you hooked on esports and World of Warcraft at this point, when it's probably most likely going to be a part of the next game that they have on the pipeline, where they're like, this is going to be very important to this game. We need to make sure this is going to happen. And like, why would you muddy the water with World of Warcraft?
You're talking about Hearthstone, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they were talking about doing it, and then the Titan team was like, no, listen, you guys, seriously, we really need this to be a thing in our game and not yours.
We really need this to be a new thing, so stop stealing our thing and putting it in your thing.
All new ideas are going to Titan. I said it before.
Yeah, exactly. But then I don't know. It's just like it seems that obviously there's a way that it works that makes it much, much more. I mean, I can't believe they'd have put the amount of time and effort it would require to set up a genuine spectator mode for arena into a spectator mode for pet battles, and it just seems so odd to me. So I can only imagine that it's actually for reasons. It's much, 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 much simpler to do this for pet battles than it is for arenas, and that must be it.
It's a little magical gnome, just ticks a box and it's done. It's over.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're holding it back for other reasons, I'm sure. Yeah. All right, let's talk about some PvE side of things. Let's talk about that stuff. So someone asked if the Siege of Orgrimmar and patch 5.4 were going to be pushed back to sort of drag out the expansion a bit more. And Corey Stockton stepped in and had this to say. He said, nope. We are feeling really happy with the pace of our patches, and all signs indicate we will keep moving at that pace for the foreseeable future. So first thing I got to ask, some things went on sale this week, some tickets. I don't know if you guys know about this, but how do you guys think that might tie into the next expansion? I mean, are they just going to release it at BlizzCon and be like, hey guys, here it is. It's in your, everybody look under your seat. Yeah,
exactly. Look under the seat in front of you.
You get to level 95, and you get to level 95.
Yeah.
Watch. Could you imagine if they're all watching right now? They're just like, "Jeez, Garrison, I hate you. That was our idea."
It.
Could you imagine if everybody at the concert and they would look under your seat and you pull out the expansion? We would blow everybody's minds.
It's just in the swag bag.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, here you go.
Right.
What do you guys think? The BlizzCon expansion announcement?
They're gonna have to announce that if it's not announced by then.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, maybe
it's already happened. Like Gamescom,
yeah, because I think, for example. Yeah, like Gamescom, or I think PAX Prime is before BlizzCon too. Like
yeah,
there's a few other conventions by then, and obviously they just announced Hearthstone at PAX East, so it's possible that they'll do something like that. But like by November, to put this in perspective, if we say that it's been, 2 months now on patch 5.2?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, it's just about to become May. So if we say there's another 4 months before 5.4, then that puts us in August for the final tier to have released. If 3 months later, sorry, I'm trying to think.
Trying to math.
If 3 months later, after the release of patch 5.4, if 3 months later we don't know what the next expansion is yet, guys,
yeah, for sure,
guys,
yeah,
right,
guys, yeah.
Right.
But we could have another Dragon Soul, seriously, because I don't think I can raid Orgrimmar that often.
Yeah.
But nothing really points to that, right? I mean, does everybody agree that the cadence that they have been releasing content up until this point has been really good? It's the best it's ever been. And I mean,
it's insane.
Pretty good.
And
yeah.
Corey sounds super
fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And Corey sounds super confident that they're going to be able to stick with it. I think at this point in time, I mean, aren't you guys kind of sold that they've got this pipeline worked out now and they're actually going to be able to stick with this cadence?
Well, I'm thinking that if they stick with this cadence, I might actually be able to level some alts and raid with some alts instead of just my main tune. So I think that might be a good thing. No, this expansion has been going really, really quickly from a lot of people's perspectives, especially more casual players. This thing has been racing along, and people can't catch up with all the things that they're supposed to be doing. And so, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, I think that I'm on top of things, but only with one character, and that is a big difference from Cataclysm.
But my point is at this point, like you're saying, that they've been racing. I can't see them just like racing, and everybody's like, wow, they're blowing us away, and then just fumble the ball.
Down.
Yeah, they just slow down and fumble the ball, and they're just like, expansion. Yeah, you guys can wait a couple months for that. Yeah, we pushed everything out really fast, and I don't see that.
Yeah,
I can't see that happening.
You say that, but I just sort of still have this feeling, and I've probably been completely unfair, and they probably thought of this, given that it's their game and everything. But I just can't help feeling that it's going to get quick, it's going to keep along at this sort of frenetic pace, and then all of a sudden they're just going to be like, oh wait. Yeah, we don't have anything yet.
Corey's just going to hop on down. He's going to be like, okay, guys, so how's patch 5.6 development going? And they'll just be like, what?
What? There was a...
Right.
Oh.
They're gonna have Halion 2, the return of Halion. Electric Boogaloo. But they're not going to be releasing it anytime soon. I don't think they're going to be releasing it before BlizzCon. I mean, I don't think they're even having a presence at PAX Prime, from what I know. So I don't think they're even considering it because it's just so close to BlizzCon at that point. So, but I do think that BlizzCon would be the perfect place to unleash expansions, and I think that there was a rumor going around that they were going to be releasing expansions for all of their properties, right?
Yeah.
So
that's definitely the rumor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we already know that Legacy of the Void is on the way for StarCraft. Diablo 3 is in sore need of an expansion. It just desperately needs something to make people care about Diablo 3 again. And I don't know. I guess I don't know numbers on Diablo 3, so maybe it's doing really, really well. But I feel like the game could really use that boost. And then World of Warcraft is obviously going to need an expansion as well. So like the only one that's kind of an if there is Diablo, and I think that's the one that probably it really needs it. So yeah, maybe it is something. Maybe they've just gotten really good at not leaking things. And
all of a sudden.
And we're gonna get to BlizzCon. They'll be like, "Here's the new expansion. It's due out in March." And everyone will be like, "Oh,
whoa,
okay."
Whoa.
They've
goes into beta today.
Yeah,
they've obviously equipped everybody with AKs because nobody saw that Hearthstone announcement coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So who knows?
And apparently everyone at Blizzard was already playing it too.
They were, yes.
Already knew about it. So it's like,
all the people I know were saying to me, "Oh, I can finally talk about Hearthstone to you guys." Like, what? How long? How long have you had this?
So another thing they asked Corey about was whether or not the Siege of Orgrimmar would have the same sort of problem that Dragon Soul did, where there really weren't any new environments. He came back and said, "Lesson learned, you can plan on seeing new environments in the 5.4 raid for sure, along with Orgrimmar." So first off, I think it's a sigh of relief for everybody out there, all the players out there, like, thank God. But that also pretty much confirms that there's more to the 5.4 raid than just Orgrimmar. So what do you give me some speculation here? Where else could you guys see this all going? I mean, what sort of new environments would you expect to go along with this?
I mean, the easy answer, I guess, is some sort of like, okay, we're going to be up in like Ashenvale or Ajar or something and making a push towards it, or maybe even Durotar making a push towards it from different directions or something. So it's not just, but even then, that's not really new environment. So it's like, do we chase Garrosh somewhere? Do we like oust him from Orgrimmar and then chase him to
Wailing Caverns?
Wailing Caverns.
Good catch, Pat. Good catch.
That'd be good. It's close by too.
It's convenient. It's a convenient hideout.
It's just a small run.
Yeah. Well, like maybe, I don't know. And again, I'm looking at chat room because I know Missy's in there. Like maybe he'll go to some very is there still a troll, like a Darkspear? There's still Darkspear troll islands and stuff like that, right? There's still the start zone that's islands. Do they have an island? But like maybe Garrosh is going to go there and mess stuff up or something.
The thing is, whatever it is, it's a new environment.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe there's a secret island.
So.
A super secret island?
Yeah. Some secret troll zone which we weren't aware of. I don't know. I'm just speculating because I know Vol'jin's heavily involved. Or maybe they'll just replace Orgrimmar with a new zone. Such as Thunderblood. Maybe it'll just be the Orgrimmar crater, like the Dalaran crater or the Theramore crater. Not that it's called that.
That'd be great.
What do you guys think? That came up on the Blizzard Q&A show, or was that? I don't remember. Josh brought that up as well. I mean, what do you think the chances of that are? Well, first of all, tell us your
up Orgrimmar.
Yeah, let's hear your theory, Josh. First of all, let's just lay it out there.
Oh, my theory is I was just sort of musing about this the other day, but I'm like, man, what if in like they keep talking about how they don't want to make this a horde-only thing, and we're going to be sieging Orgrimmar. So what if Orgrimmar is no longer a horde-only place? What if in patch 5.4, horde aren't welcome in Orgrimmar anymore? If you're not part of Garrosh's horde, the Kor'kron just kick you out. So horde has to go to like Thunderbluff or something, and then we go and we siege Orgrimmar, and Orgrimmar just becomes a raid instance. Like, because where are they going to put the portal otherwise? Are we going to go to the Caverns of Time? Like,
honestly, I'm done with that place.
Yeah, exactly. So what
Then you're
if?
still halving out of the Caverns of Time back into Orgrimmar, having just spent hours raiding Orgrimmar? Nah, we're not going to do that.
Like what if? And they were saying something in the Q&A as well about how they were going to have a big alliance win at the end of the expansion. Alliance is going to be this like awesome like
Juggernaut, they said.
juggernaut,
didn't
yeah, the
they?
victorious juggernaut, and the Horde is going to be sort of picking up the pieces. Maybe when they said picking up the pieces, they meant of Orgrimmar. Just pieces of Orgrimmar.
Literal pieces of
Literal
Orgrimmar.
rubble.
Just literal pieces of garage everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I got some.
I'm watching chat.
Garage on you.
Rush on myself, gross.
I'm watching chat room and I'm wondering if they would like go so far as to just destroy it. Like what people would be. It's such a hangout. Like it's like the
It is.
place.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
of
Could you
course,
ba-
it's like the Horde city. It's the Horde capital.
But
It's
it wouldn't
already-
be the first time. It would not be
No,
the first
exactly.
time that a major capital switched because they switched from Ironforge to Stormwind.
Yeah. And it's already a sort of ramshackle mishmash of little separated towns, and there's still little zones. And like, if you go on a spoiler alert, turn off now if you don't want spoilers for the patch 5.3 PTR. There's already Corcoran taking the place over. Like, there's the troll area, the Valley of Spirits. Is that right?
Right, right, yes.
Yeah, Valley of Spirits has been taken over by the Corcoran already. They're already being pushed out. They've already been bumped on to the next place. So I think it's a good theory. I think Josh's theory is a good theory.
And someone had a great idea in chat room as well, because that would put Horde down a capital city. What about Echo Isles? What if that becomes a bigger place again? All of the sort of refugees from Orgrimmar. Maybe now the orcs are living with the trolls instead of vice versa.
Ooh.
This is getting deep. Did I tell you guys that we have a show called Conspiracy Craft? I forgot to plug it last week, but this seems like a perfect time that we have a brand new show on GameBreaker.tv all about World of Warcraft lore. It's called Conspiracy Craft. And obviously everybody that watches this show should go watch that show, Conspiracy Craft. We did episodes 1 and 2 so far, so we're getting in the swing of things. Episode 3 is coming up next week, but who knew that you guys cared about World of Warcraft lore? It's getting deep.
Of course we care about lore. He's a nice guy.
Obviously.
I thought you meant it was getting deep and we needed a shovel.
We
Because
do.
we're just basically just spinning yarns here.
I know. It's so fun. Ion Azakostas.
Wrong.
Fails.
He answered another question that they liked. He said that they liked the number of bosses in the Throne of Thunder, and that the 5.4 raid would be, quote, about that size. What do you guys think of that? Sound good to you guys?
Yeah, sounds great. I think that this is actually a pretty perfect size for a raid, and I think even Paragon was saying that this felt right for them at the level that they're at. So I mean, that's really good. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that they could probably do a little bit more diversity with kind of the way that you go through the dungeon, because I don't like the straight line thing. But other than that, I think that 12 bosses with an optional boss even feels right to me. So
The other thing that's really interesting here, he said 5.4 raid, not raids. There's no S. He said raid, which is so. I guess should we take that literally and say one to confirm one instance?
I guess that's not a huge surprise either, given that they've been sort of touting the Siege of Orgrimmar as like the end raid for, oh goodness knows, like months now. So it's possibly not a huge surprise that it's just that one instance. I don't know. I'm kind of in agreement with Pat. Is that I'm not a huge fan of the very pronounced linearity of the Throne of Thunder raid. I just feel like if you're stuck on a certain boss, it's nice to be able to take a week and go do a different boss, like you could in Dragon Soul with the first three. The first three after Loot Chock, which you could go and do. No, sorry, the first two after Loot Chock. What am I talking about? You could go and do one or the other. And if you were really struggling with the Skittles boss, you could go do the ping pong boss. And like the same with Firelands, you had the different options available to you there, where you could just go and like move around and try different ones if you were getting stuck. Whereas with Throne of Thunder, it's very much, if you can kill Jinrog, then you get onto Horadon. If you can't kill Horadon, then you get onto Horadon. And if you can't kill Horadon, then
you stay on Horadon.
Bring more dispels. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't personally think that there is a best way to set up a raid instance and stuff like that. I think it's good to be alternating around, like, oh, this one's linear, this one's got wings, this one's multiple instances, this one's got 12 bosses. This one's got 16 bosses, stuff like that. I don't think there's one best way to do all of that, but I definitely agree that I think going into the next tier, a one raid instance with somewhere in the vicinity of 12 bosses, as long as there's some optional, like, oh, you get to this point, you have to do like all 3 of these bosses, but it doesn't matter which order you do them in, something like that. Something like that would be good, I think.
Yeah.
So here is the biggest question of all, the question the entire internet wants to know and has been dying to find out. Is there going to be another airship battle? And if so, how often is it going to break?
I'll be kind of disappointed if there isn't, to be honest, because that's kind of been the final tier thing since Wrath is Ice Crown Citadel, gunship battle. Dragon Soul, gunship battle.
Gunship battle.
Yeah, like, well, it wasn't technically a gunship battle, but you fought on a gunship.
You were on a gunship.
So, yeah.
But yeah, there's a ton of Zeppelins flying around the place. Maybe one of those could be a gunship.
Ooh, Zeppelin fight. That would be different.
Zeppelin Wars.
Zeppelin
Wars.
fight.
Yeah.
Blizzard just
fight
make
where you get
sure
to fly one of the little like interceptor things, and you're like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. But actually, no, aerial combat in WoW is
Everyone
terrible.
loves vehicle
Everyone
fights.
loves aerial combat 3D vehicle fights. They are like number one.
Because I'm sure that won't break.
No,
No.
just make
That
seriously, we need
the
to
second
keep
half of the question.
Blizzard,
Constantly. It will play.
please don't break the meme. Just keep the joke going. Make sure it's broken, please. As long as it's broken. Like if it came out and it worked, there'd be something completely wrong with this universe. Should not work. All right.
For sure.
Last bit of the Cover It Live thing before we move on. There's still more show. There's a couple of big story related things that Dave Kosak tackled. So I'm sure we're going to cover this a little bit more in that show Conspiracy Craft. Don't know if I can tell you about that. World of Warcraft show they have right here on Gamebreaker TV. All about lore. You should watch it. But here's some of the juicier bits. So someone asked whether the Alliance were playing the good guys a little bit too much. Dave responded with this. He said, "Good question. Alliance seems awfully good when compared to Garrosh, who started using his own people as cannon fodder and is weaponizing everything he can get his hands on." He says, but there are still gray areas. Do you think Jaina did the right thing in Dalaran? What about Admiral Rogers gutting down and drowning soldiers in Pandaria? There's an edge there. What's your take on this, guys? I mean, does the Alliance really only seem good because Garrosh is just being such a dick? It's just overshadowing like everything else in the game. The entire, like, you're just overlooking the entire Alliance story because of this.
I think there's definitely an element of everything is about Garrosh right now, so it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, sure, Admiral Rogers is shooting drowning soldiers, but they were Horde soldiers and Garrosh is a dick, so it makes sense. Or like Jaina Proudmoore gets all angry and decides she's going to start killing off the Sun Reavers, but Garrosh is a dick, so okay,
And it
sure.
makes sense.
Yeah. I think there's an element of that. I would like to see more because there's like throughout Warcraft lore in the history, like especially like things like the Night Elves, like races like the Night Elves have always been up to something, like they've always been kind of elitist and always sort of up to no good in that sense. I would love to see more along the lines of here's the Alliance doing something bad, and I kind of feel like Alliance players might like that a little bit too. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, as an Alliance player here, raise my hand. I'm constantly, anytime someone mentions this, I'm like, let's just kill Thrall. Let's just have Jaina kill Thrall. That would be it then. And it's just like, I just want them to do something. And I don't care if it's something horrendous. As long as it's something.
So Liv, as an Alliance player, you sort of feel like you think you want to be the bad guys a little bit?
Absolutely. I don't, like I say, I have no objection. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm the exception. Maybe I'm completely unrepresentative of everyone else, but I freaking love killing blood elves on the Isle of Thunder. I'm doing daily quests.
Wow.
I'm doing daily quests, you guys, because I'm just like over there, like, yo, I'm in your base messing with your dudes. I'm in your base killing your whatever that giant robot is. Lol, have fun. And
So
it's done. It's good. I'm like, yes, finally, we're taking action. And it's just the Alliance has felt so passive in this expansion, and indeed in the last one. And it's just, something needs to happen. And if that is something, and I really want Jaina to flip out and just go mental and just blow something up. Preferably Orgrimmar or Thrall. Done.
There you go. Well, as a recently converted Alliance member, I used to play Horde, and now I'm playing Alliance because I thought the Alliance was the bad guys. I thought they were, and so I went over there, and they're not really doing too much.
Yeah, it's kind of the issue is like the Horde, like a big reason that everybody was always like, oh, the Horde is everything going on, everything is Horde side, is because the bad guys come from the Horde, right? We're not getting nearly as much. Like I saw people mentioning things in chat too, like, oh, with Archbishop Benedictus, like, oh yeah, sure.
The guy who stands in a room and shouts power every now and then.
Yeah.
Wow, great character.
A 5-man raid boss came out of the Alliance. Thanks, awesome.
OMG.
But I feel like there's just sort of the Horde makes messes, and the Horde tries to clean it up, and the Alliance tries to clean it up, and the Alliance isn't really making any messes right now, and so there just needs to be something to sort of spice the Alliance up a little bit, something a little bit more interesting over there. So it's something where you're looking and saying, oh, we like looking back to Classic. Holy crap! What do you mean, Lady Katrana Prester is Onyxia? Amazing! That was cool. That was actually something interesting going on, and ever since then, it's just always been okay. We're here. The Alliance is here, guys. Don't worry. We're gonna fix everything.
Do you guys think? Do you think that? Because obviously when people rolled characters early on, right? Like, you know, Alliance good guys, Horde are bad guys, and it was just like good and bad. And it was like clear cut, you know, just black and white kind of thing. Do you think players are just like kind of evolved from that at this point, and kind of want just more gray areas where people are just the lines are kind of divided? It's like, I don't know why I'm thinking about like Game of Thrones, right? It's like there's nobody like super evil and super good. It's like they're all fighting for their own thing, and they're all sort of like looking out for their. So it's like, do you think players are looking for something like more like that, where the Alliance aren't the good guys anymore? They're just sort of like their own thing. We're just gonna fight. They have
this on the Horde. They have this in the Horde right now, because you have everybody kind of splitting with Garrosh, and so it's like you have all these different little storylines going on because people are really wondering what's going to happen. And the problem is the Alliance are just very flat right now. You don't have that same type of, you know, the racial lines or whatever that's going on within each group. You just don't have that with the Alliance.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be something where it's the like Alliance players become bad guys. It's just bad guys coming out of something that happened on the Alliance side that then the Alliance players have to go clean up, and also Horde players have to go clean up. But it's something that then the Alliance can say, this came out of our side. Like Arthas was something during Wrath of the Lich King where everyone was like, that's an Alliance story, because Arthas was Alliance. He was the son of it was the Prince of Lordaeron is what he was. And so it was like, okay, that's an Alliance story. And sure, there was Sylvanas and the Forsaken in there as well, but it felt like a very much Alliance story overall. And that's the sort of thing that the Alliance really needs again, I think. Like bring back like it's so disappointing how they ended the whole Defias thing too, where they were like, oh, well, technically we killed off Van Cleef ages ago, but then Vanessa came back, but then we killed her off in the same exact 5-man again. Like, all right, do something interesting, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a ton of little storylines that you could pick up and carry on there. And I just think that, I mean, Missy says this very well, which is, you know, talked about this actually in Conspiracy Craft last week, that the Alliance are reactive. They're passive and reactive, whereas the Horde are the leaders, and they're the sort of aggressor, and everything the Alliance has been doing lately has been in reaction to the Horde. And that's frustrating, and it's kind of, well, for an Alliance player at least, it's annoying. You want to be the ones who are leading the charge, not the ones who are going, oh, the Horde are, oh no, we should, yes. And you know, you want to be taking
be a little more aggressive on the Alliance side would make players probably feel a little bit more like they're in charge of their own people a little bit. Do something about it.
Yeah.
All right, we could keep talking about this Cover It Live thing for days. I'm sure we're going to come back to this in weeks to come. More tidbits keep coming out, but we do have to move on. One last quick topic before we move on. So there was a hotfix that happened just a couple days ago, and it's a big one. So the quest that rewards you with the Mogu Ruins of Fate, used for bonus rolls in Throne of Thunder, had its requirement dropped from 90 lesser charms to only 50. And that was that was something that originally showed up in the patch 5.3 notes, but was almost immediately hotfixed afterwards. So getting those 90 charms has been a huge complaint. So how much does changing it down to 50, how much does that actually help the player?
Well, it cuts the amount of dailies you have to do a week by almost half.
I know, I was trying to do maths then to figure out how much 40 of 90 is expressed as a percentage, and I got to almost half. It's like that's a whole lot less work you have to do. What it means for me is that I can now buy my first ever anything for lesser charms.
That's awesome.
When I say I don't
Congratulations.
do dailies, I'm really not joking.
Well, and the problem for me was that I realized that this happened this week while I was in Vegas, and I was like so excited to come in and do pet battles for half the time. No such luck. No such luck. The RNG was not with me or something. I don't know exactly what was going on, but I have collected after, like leveling 2 full pets to level 6, because that's when I stop. Throw them out. Get new ones. And after that I had 10. I was so depressed. So
yeah, the pet battle thing is something that I've discovered to be very, very streaky as time goes on. Like sometimes you get a lot out of it, sometimes you don't. It's something that I like to do, like when we're getting the raid together or something. I was like, whatever, I'll just do a couple of these real quick or something, because you can do them in a raid, or while I'm queuing for LFR and just waiting for that to pop. It's just it's better than doing dailies. Like that's what that comes down to. But still, only needing 50 charms is huge.
Dental work.
Huge.
Random. Good job.
All right. I think it's safe to say that everybody's happy with this change. Yes. All right, let's move on to some viewer questions and get the F out of here. If you guys have a question for the legendary crew, send them over to submit@gameburger.tv. We love video questions. Where are the video questions, peeps? Let's go. Video questions.
Yeah,
Record yourself. Post them on YouTube. Send us the link. Submit@gameburger.tv is the email address. Also, keep an eye on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/GameBreakerTV. Hey, we need to break 30,000. I feel like I've been asking too long for 30,000. If you guys have not liked our Facebook page, please go over facebook.com/GameBreakerTV. Like the page. Please. I want to break 30K. Maybe by the end of April. Time is running out. I don't know. Maybe you win a car. Maybe you don't. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Let's get it. So, let's do this one. First up from Michael Taggart. Michael says, it's said that Blizzard is the only thing that can kill WoW. So does the future release of Titan all but guarantee WoW's demise? Or is Blizzard fooling everyone? And is Titan really just World of Warcraft 2.0? Pat,
no!
All right, Josh, I'll start with you since you're yelling. I'll start with you.
Sorry. I see this question all the time. No, stop it.
I tell you what else it isn't. It also isn't the Diablo expansion. It also isn't Bungie's Destiny. It also isn't Hearthstone. There's so many things that it isn't.
Oh man!
I'm sorry, Pat. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I thought it was all. You sure it's not All Stars? Because I think it might be All Stars.
Oh, it's All Stars.
I'm pretty sure it's not All Stars.
They've been really quiet about that.
It's nothing to do with Halo. That's another thing it isn't.
Really?
Honestly,
maybe it has something to do with Marcus Phoenix.
People kind of emailed into me saying, "Do you think that maybe Titan is something to do with Halo?" No, stop it, people, stop it.
No, but seriously, there's one
it's gonna
thing.
Be Gears of War.
There's one thing that we know about Titan at this point, and that's that it's a new IP. That is one thing that we know. Is that it's new. It's not Warcraft.
Do you remember we had this discussion about that unannounced feature, and everyone was like, is it Proving Grounds?
But Josh Allen, we learned one thing in this whole entire episode, and that's Blizzard lies. So,
oh yeah,
they do.
Question mark.
You never
exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
Yes.
Thank you, Pat.
Well remembered. You can stay. Yeah. It's definitely not. But whether it will kill Warcraft, I mean, that's the more interesting bit of the question, I think.
Why would they want to?
Exactly.
I think it would take a long time for them to do that. I mean, because the communities are pretty strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that. But the communities seem to be fairly strong.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, if anything, if anything, like what we've heard in some of the past like late rumors, that they're gonna tie it together somehow. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what they're gonna do. They're not gonna kill it. They're gonna tie it together in some way to kind of probably they'll bundle it together and maybe do some kind of package deal where you keep your World of Warcraft.
It'll be absorbed.
And,
assimilated.
Like if they're going to come out with a new MMO, why would they say, okay, we need to get all of the people that are playing this one to play this one instead, when they could instead be like, okay, how can we get all the people that are playing this new one to also play this other one that we've had around for a while?
But now if Michael means by demise that the subscription numbers go down, yes, it's going to, like, there's no way it's going to go up at this point. I mean, it's
No,
like kind
exactly. Let's be realistic.
Unless
The
they tie
times-
it together in some absolutely ridiculous
Yeah,
way.
that
where
you
it's
just
like,
totally
you
did
have a
not.
level 95, then you get a better thing in Titan. Then
That's right.
maybe, but that would be stupid. So
Yes, that would be pretty daft.
It's going to be an MMMO, multiplayer, massively multiplayer online game. Yeah, they're
It's
just
like a
going to
multi-level-
there.
It's going to be a multi-level marketing scheme. It's going to be one of those
That's right.
pyramid
It's like a
schemes.
pyramid
Right.
scheme.
You get your friend to come in to get your friend,
Wow.
and you're going to make money. All right. Next up from Richard Kalines. Any tips on getting higher in the queue for BlizzCon tickets? I was 10K in queue after just 10 seconds.
Man, 10 seconds is a long time.
That is
That's
a
a
long
really
time.
long time,
What
man.
were you
That's like
doing
a-
away from your computer for 10 seconds? Honestly, why
Right.
why had you not pushed refresh in that period?
That's like an eternity, man. Any
That's like
tips, man?
forever.
Just-
That's like a BlizzCon ticket sales year.
The biggest problem for people is the little drop-down menu thing. That was a problem for me. I decided to hit that. I didn't get tickets that time. I'll get them
Dude.
on Saturday, though.
you need to train more. Your APM is low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat Crane, follow him on the Twitter at Pat Crane. Of course, go over to Convert to Raid. Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Olivia D. Grace, follow her on the Twitter at Olivia D. Grace. Come over to GameBreaker.tv and read all her World of Warcraft stuff right here. And of course, WoW Insider. Always a pleasure. And Josh Allen. Follow him on the Twitter at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Go over to tankspot.com. 8,000 plugs, weekly Mario PST. Just the tip. What else am I missing?
And a very big announcement very soon.
Ooh, I know what it is. I know what it is. Very big announcement. Come on over to GameBreaker.tv all day, every day. We got all your World of Warcraft news. Don't forget to watch Conspiracy Craft. Seriously, all you World of Warcraft fans watching the show, go watch Conspiracy Craft. It's going to get better and better and better. World of Warcraft lore. Josh.
Not me, seriously.
Not him.
Please don't make a show that's all about me. That would be a boring show.
I could make a show just about your amazing hair. Have a great week.